The Park Board meeting to order. First item on our agenda is minutes from the last meeting. Has anybody got any changes, corrections, or omissions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve. Second.
All in favor? Say aye. Motion carried. We're going to hop around on our agenda a little bit to try and accommodate the people who are here and let you have a chance to speak rather than going through our whole meeting and all the other stuff. So I thought we'd drop down and go to the dog park first and hit that, and then we'll go to the some improvements that Tom has that he wants to go over in the discussion for capital improvements, and then you guys, if that's fine. Okay, want to introduce yourself and go from there, please.
Absolutely. Hi again. I'm Ann Wasmond, and I am the current chairperson for the Hudson Dog Owners Association. We provided, I think that you might have a page. Okay, perfect. Yep. We provided really some details for a sign that we would like permission to post or hang on the fence at the park. So essentially it includes a brief history, how the park came to be, how a visitor might find out more about the association, and how to support the park, but also how to donate for park maintenance and ongoing improvements. There's also a map of Phase 1, which currently exists, if you aren't aware, and Phase 2, again, this was a concept that was approved by City Council in 2017. Phase 1 opened in November, and then we are continuing to raise funds for Phase 2. The capital improvement plan in 2017 included $40,000 for the dog park, and $20,000 of that was an expected donation from our group. And of course, last fall we donated $27,000, which really just was given to get that park, that Phase 1 open and get the park up and running. So I'm here tonight just to communicate two requests on behalf of our association. Number one, to ensure that Phase 2 does remain in the master plan for the dog park at Grandview Park. Many donors have given money for this concept with Phase 1 and Phase 2, and the Spark grant from the Hudson Community Foundation also was based on that concept. And then number two, requesting that $10,000 be reserved or included in the capital improvement plan, which is reduced to half of what was prior to that at $20,000. And of course, I guess extending from that the City Council eventually approve spending that $10,000 to get Phase 2 up and running. I think that it was estimated at $13,000 or $14,000 for that smaller section, Phase 2, and so our group would cover the remaining cost of Phase 2. Wow. So those were our two requests. Any questions about that information?
I see a lot of people using it.
It's very widely used. Exactly. Currently closed at this time just due to the conditions and the melt that's going on, but we're hoping to get at least a temporary fix in, and then also more permanent looking forward. So concrete or something to help mitigate that terrible muddy mess that's right in the entrance right now. Mm. Yeah, we kind of expected that it might happen with so much use. Yeah.
Did you talk to any of the contractors about that inside part?
I haven't yet, but that's definitely on our horizon to reach out to hopefully a contractor, a company that would be willing to work with us, potentially donate some of that service, either labor or materials, for laying that concrete pad at the entry. Yeah.
And Ann and I talked the other day, and we thought that maybe the summer the city we could put in walkway from the parking lot up to the gate entrances, and then inside the gate of something of more of a decorative flavor to, instead of a square concrete gray, maybe it could be arched or something with a bench on there, maybe that would divert the dogs in different directions instead of going in the same spot. Mm-hmm. And then multiple maybe other benches throughout the park with some native grasses and things. And I even offered up that the city has Tree of the Year trees for sale, maybe some of the group would like to purchase some of those.
She
and
already
get-
did.
I already did.
Oh, there you
Sent
go.
that in, yeah.
So some of those would be good, and we could get those planted in there.
That'd be excellent. I agree.
It's a good start.
Absolutely. Just to put in some improvements and some character and, yeah, improve that area will be great.
Anybody else have any other questions on it or items at this time that they need to bring forward on it?
I think you can just do a motion to approve the signage.
Okay.
You can kind of internally do that, but it's fine.
Somebody want to make that, and then Tom, how do you want the motion, Tom?
Just a motion to approve or accept the signed
Signed agreement?
agreement
Okay.
and for the signs and I don't know, I guess something like to that effect. I don't normally make motions.
Yeah, no, I'm just kind of waiting for somebody to do it without the chair doing it, actually.
Yeah, I can make a motion to go ahead with the signage for the dog park that they.
Okay, and then for phase 2, as they described doing it in their presentation.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion or any further questions on anybody's part?
So I have a question. If someone makes a donation, the donation goes to, where does the donation go if somebody clicks on this? Or maybe you can tell us a little bit about how
Absolutely.
that'll be handled?
Absolutely. So the QR code there goes directly to our page, which is a Square site, which is linked onto our website. And so it goes directly into the account for the Hudson Dog Owners Association. And then that money has been donated to the city. So, so any other of our fundraisers, that's the same method of how we accept donations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carried. Good.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. You guys have really done a fabulous job. Well, you've really done a lot of work and a very commendable job. Really, everyone benefits from what you've done.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go down to what we had on our agenda as number 6 for the pickleball courts in White Camp. Tom, you want to bring us up to date on your recent walkabouts out there?
They're just an issue sheet. This is it. I got it. As a request from the Pickleball Association or group, I think it was after the last meeting, we, had talked about, looking at Grandview, and then we kind of went back to revisit White Camp Park. Mike and I had looked at that previously, and so we set a meeting up after the last park board meeting and met John DeGraff. Mike was sick, and I think Chris was from the Y had the times mixed up. So we met with Mr. DeGraff and looked at the site. It's on the issue sheet. I don't know if you guys got it.
They don't have, there's not an issue sheet now.
Oh, not an issue sheet, but did you guys see the map that this is just not to scale, it's pretty rough, but I think the whole idea is we wanted to show the different utilities that were underneath, that's going to be underneath the proposed, the 8 pickleball courts. So I think, unfortunately, I think there was a little confusion. I think someone had talked with the city engineer, and I thought maybe he wasn't aware of all the things. I think at that time maybe the conversation was moving 2 manholes, which
Even before that, I think there's a more fundamental issue to that, and that is that we really don't plan on pickleball courts going in that park. And to incur the expense and everything else to change that, it is superfluous to that. I mean, it goes with it, but that isn't part of the plan, and
I think the whole thing, stemmed around the possibility of getting,
well, it's a pot of money there.
yeah.
It is.
And I
I
think
mean,
that's what we
There's a
kind
pot of money there, and they want to go, no offense, guys, they want to go after that pot of money. But we had other intent for that, and we've really been of the mind that the best place for it to be is at Grandview. And we had the big meeting before with everyone here. We tried to lay out what we have to go through to get it into capital improvement and to do that, and try to express that if you want to move on a faster timeline than that, that's fine on city property, and that's our ante at this point, and then we'll try and work to how we get something into our budgetary process to get funding for the other part. I would ask that you advise whoever in the group to only go through Tom. The city staff is really busy, and with everything going on, it's not right to pull them off of one thing and into something else when they've got a full load already. And I've been asked to just kind of pass that on, and so if you go through the main office, if there's questions in that, but that's kind of how we're hamstrung, if you will, at this point, unless something else would come about. But right now, we're going to be doing our planning and our 5-year and our master planning so that we have our ducks in a row, so that we can go for the funding to go for the next bonding issue for things. But in the meantime, that's pretty much all we can be doing along those lines. Oh, please do, please do. Just your name and...
Continue the discussion. My name is Colleen Hammer. I'm a board member for the HCPA Hudson Community Pickleball Association. I'm also a resident. Yeah, Hudson Community Pickleball Association. I'm also a resident here at the city, and I just wanted to reiterate pretty much what you just said, and that is that we are all in agreement with you, and that was our original request. Was we really wanted the pickleball courts to be located at the Grandview Park, and as you said, it looked like there might have been money over at White Camp, but it sounds like that's not the case. So yeah, we're definitely in agreement. We do, that will be our request for all future discussion, and also, we're looking at hoping to fund it using 2019 bond money, and I understand it's not possible to move money between parks, but that's something I'm hoping you can consider. If the $75,000 that's in the 5-year capital improvement plan right now for White Camp, if that goes away, if that could then be put back into Grandview, and same with the $25,000 that's currently in the 2019 capital improvement plan, if that goes from Lakefront Park over to Grandview. So that's something, and then we're looking at, fundraising the remainder, as much as, we can. I know that Tom Sifko came up with a total estimate of $160,000, and, that's something, it's for 8 pickleball courts, but there is a little bit of flexibility in that to, talking to people to see if we can, between fundraising and the $100,000 of bond funding, if that would be enough for 2019 to start construction.
I don't know the answer to that.
Right, I don't either. That's just a start. That's what we're asking for you to discuss.
Yeah, I think it's something that, one, we have to look at what we have already going for projects, and we'll be doing that as we go through it. The caution is that we want to put something into bonding, but it's still up to the city council to approve it in going in. But I don't know of a speedier next step, other than, the question has been asked, can those dollars be moved and the like, and that's something that we can find. I don't know the answer to it
I think
accurately, to go for it, but that we can get the answers to those kinds of questions and see what that is, and then, know where we stand on those issues, because it all comes back to the dollars again.
Do you know what the next steps are? Is that when you have your meeting to talk about the 5-year plan, and it involves Grandview? I see you're talking about the other parks. Is that when you would talk about that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yep.
whenever you
That's when
meet
they'll
about
try to
Grandview.
put better numbers on it. So obviously the 75, when they get to White Camp Park, that 75,000, the whole line's going to go away.
Okay.
Because they don't want them out there. That was just a number that was put in there. It wasn't obviously an accurate number. So the number for Grandview will want to be, pretty clear, as far as, especially if it's going to be in the next bonding cycle, we're going to have some good construction costs for that.
In the meantime, we can try to get more firm numbers for fundraising, and that'll give us a better idea of what to ask for bonding.
Yeah.
Go for as much as you can get.
Yep.
We will.
No, I'm saying, don't count on the city being able to come up with the bonding.
Had we
I mean,
talked- I'm sorry.
I don't mean to cast aspersions on it in my saying that. What I'm trying to say is, let's not count on the city saying yes to putting it into the bonding for sure, until we've been able to find out more information, get it, and then we can approach a city in advance before we spend all our wheels and spinning, to get their commitment to wanting to do it. I think that would be
Is it safe to say that there is some monetary commitment, because it was already in the 5-year plan for pickleball for the city, even though it was at different parks? It sounds like the city was prepared to spend some money.
No,
for
we were just
pickleball
asking,
courts.
if you look at the information we had at our large meeting, you can see lots of places where we'll put into our
Wish
our
list.
plan what we'd like to have and what we'd like to do, and then what it actually comes back as then is much different. So
Okay.
their wishes.
All right.
Had we talked about a phased approach, maybe going with 4 courts initially to get it launched, and then adding additional courts later? Would that help?
Don't know. I've had the tennis people say, you can line a tennis court for pickleball and a pickleball court for tennis, and that some of the courts should also be laid out for tennis as well. Because we have a lot of people who want to play tennis on them. So those are all issues, I think, that are in Gideon's knot that we get to.
I think from a financial standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. The only reason we haven't really been suggesting that is just because of the demand. It's been so incredibly high, and it keeps growing constantly. I mean, every time I go to the Y, there's new players, and there's people being added for lessons, and different friends that are like, oh, I tried it, I didn't want to, and I love it. And so it just keeps growing so quickly everywhere, not just here in Hudson, but it seems to be a very, very popular sport that's going up all over, the area, Star Prairie, everywhere.
So that being said,
That's why.
well, then that being said then, is 8 the first step in a phasing to 12? Is it, what?
We feel it's a pretty solid, good number that will, with enough hours, be adequate at this time for the next few years, and including tournaments, which I know the YMCA is very interested in getting involved and raising funds that way. That's why we want to work with them on that. But the 8 pickleball courts, we've talked quite a bit at length for the last year, and we feel that's a pretty solid number of courts at this time. So, but like you said, financially, we might not have a choice, but the demand is there for 8. So. Do you have any other questions?
Well, I think it's also important, we talked about it, was about that phasing them in, because maybe at this, when you go in for the capital bonding, you're going to maybe want to split it into 2. I don't know. Maybe you'd want 100,000 this year, 100,000 that year versus 200,000 in one year. And
We'll
then,
know that
because you
once-
can
yep.
keep rolling, otherwise that's just going to keep going and going until they decide they want to fund it. So I guess
We could
that would
definitely
be
work with that.
a suggestion.
I mean, the city might be more apt to look
Yeah,
at it.
to
We
do
can
phase, split it into 2 versus, but I don't know, but that was just my thoughts too. So.
And we are definitely going to do our part for
Please do.
fundraising. If we can generate a lot more, then maybe we wouldn't need to do that phase 2. So that's definitely going to be our goal. Yeah.
So moving forward, I think Pat, had a good point that, there was a little confusion when we were, a lot of emails and things were flying around, and some were, Tom Sifko was getting some, and, I think there's a little confusion there. So I think it's a good idea, just if you guys have questions, just send them to me.
Sure.
And then I can get back to Pat or the committee.
I
So
apologize.
that'll help that confusion.
I wasn't aware that other staff members, I know I talked to Deb, but I wasn't aware that.
Yeah.
But we will.
So
make
that
a
would
point
be
of doing that.
helpful. The other thing is, as we're going to do tonight, is we're going to talk about different parks and our needs for those parks. We have a few on tonight. And when we get to Grandview, that'll probably be a big discussion. So I think we kind of have narrowed it down that maybe White Camp isn't the best place, or probably isn't going to be the place for it.
Yeah. I'm
So-
fine with that.
My suggestion would be that, maybe there's a time when we could go out and look at Grandview, when we're looking, the park is looking at Grandview Park. Maybe we have, a couple of years ago, we actually physically walked every park and things like that. So we kind of know the situation, and the area that we kind of have designated, or at least we have an idea for, when we're doing our discussions for Grandview Park, we should maybe earmark, if that's the case, and the agreement that the park board has, we should kind of put an earmark on that spot, because you've seen tonight that, the dog park people are asking for something. We've had requests for tennis courts, we have pickleball courts, and pretty soon our open spaces are gone, and they're going fast. So we have to, as we go through all these parks, we have to look at all those things. So I think it'd be important, as when we get to Grandview, is, okay, is this the best use for this park or for the pickleballs? And if it is, we should say, okay, here's the spot. And I think some of the committee people tonight, had a good idea. I think that, if you did do it in phases, we locate that site, we get the grading done for the whole thing, where it's probably, we get mobilization costs for one, mobilization for the grading, and then if the city does have money, or you guys have money, you phase it in 4, and the grading is already done for the other courts.
I think that's a great idea.
So I think it's going to be a process, like Pat said. I think there's not a person in here that doesn't agree with the enthusiasm and the need for the parks. I don't think, or for the pickleball courts. So we just have to work through our first few hurdles, and just ask that the group is patient. And I think the city and the park board's really willing to work with you guys.
Okay. So our next step then will be probably to set up a time with you to look at Grandviews.
I would just wait a little bit. Now we're gonna, next meeting, we're gonna pick out some different parks. Maybe Grandview will be on next month.
Yeah, that's
and
going on next. We're
next
just trying
month.
to do alphabetically.
So, we can certainly talk about it next month. Maybe prior to that meeting, give me a call or email me and say, let's meet out here, and we can remeasure that location. And then I'd like to confirm all the utilities out there.
Okay.
And it might be that we hold that particular meeting out there. Because we're going to be discussing the entire park.
And that might only be one park for the whole meeting, just one.
I mean,
So
just
maybe
that
we could-
one.
Okay. All right.
The bathrooms we still want to do, the other improvements that we see going in, and
So normally they would meet here first, and then they adjourn, and then they travel out there,
Yeah.
and then they usually adjourn out there.
Good
so.
idea. Okay.
But maybe we could even meet and, I could even go out and put some stakes out there, or what we did out at White Camp, we put cones on the 4 corners. I think it's 122 by 140. I think I have that down pretty good now.
Sure.
So we had it, kind of state, and we put the cones so you can visually see. I mean, that's a pretty big area. It's a
Right.
football field.
And more importantly, visually earmark. Like you said, we definitely
Yeah.
want to earmark that
So
spot.
I think
that'd
that's important to say that, hey, that's kind of the spot where we want to have the pickleball courts, because
that's what they're going to call.
be- All right. Thank you very
That
much.
helps.
Appreciate the opportunity.
thank you.
Thank you.
But thank you guys for all you're doing as well. Okay, the next item we were going to move to then was number 7 on our agenda is going through the parks.
Pat,
Yep.
Mr. Chair, could
Let's
we
just
move number
flip it.
4 up? We have a
Yes.
poster
Oh,
representing.
okay. I'm sorry.
I think he has to be somewhere else.
That's okay.
Thanks.
I was going through what I had been told.
Number, is this boosters first?
Okay.
Boosters.
As I throw mint in my mouth, thank you.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's why you call. Thank you, Mr. O'Keefe. Tim Heckman here. I'm the Hudson Boosters softball commissioner, also a member of the board. And you'll be happy to know we are not here asking for any money. No bonding. All we're simply doing is asking for access to concessions at Grandview. Frankly, the more money we make, the more money you make. Over the years that we've met with a few of you a couple of weeks ago, along with Dave O'Brien, and had a good meeting about kind of what we're thinking, just a cooperative partnership. When we're there, we've got tentatively scheduled this year 5 tournaments at Grandview to maximize use. Hopefully the snow will be gone by the time they start in May. But one of those in particular is 16U Nationals at the end of July. So when we're not only bringing in 36 teams, but also family members and friends, so literally a couple of thousand people in Hudson for up to 5 days. So I think if we're running it, we don't tax and stress city resources as much. We've worked over the years a good partnership in terms of grading, in terms of concessions, but it's really just working with Derek and Tom and Deb and their crew. When it's open, when we're there, figure out the protocols, how we make it safe, how we make money, and we pass our percent on to you pursuant to the contract we've got. So that's really all we're asking for. I think we had kind of greased the wheels in terms of how we think this might work and had a real productive meeting with everybody about a month ago, I think, upstairs, and just formally here asking for a little more access to Grandview. Also should note, I think there had been a little, maybe not concern, but just questions about it, as, boosters trying to, elbow in and elbow out adult softball. But as their participation numbers have waned, ours have increased in terms of girls. So we have everybody centralized there. We're maximizing use along with the high school JV of Field 5 and the quad. And I think just in terms of having concessions open there will be helpful. And frankly, if this goes according to plan, then Boosters is looking at turning right around and earmarking some capital improvements, obviously donating those to the city within the 5-year plan, et cetera, pickleball, et cetera, but looking to move some of the grading and some of the equipment, hopefully out of where the concessions are, whether that means we help build a shed or pay for it and donate it to the city, what have you, but then have that concession stand kind of more focused simply on that. I know bathrooms are on the agenda, et cetera, but to help get some of the equipment and things out of there, which benefits us and frankly benefits you and your crew as well. So.
Did you have another meeting with softball people, or I mean, we just had the meeting upstairs, a few weeks ago. But I think there was. I have one question: is the alcohol sales, the beer sales, and that would only be when the softball people had their games.
Adult softball, not my softball. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. I'll clarify that.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's when there's just youth softball. There's
right.
No sales at all. And is there any overlaps of games that?
There could be on Thursday nights, and we had still, I know there was some back and forth. We hadn't quite pinned down whether we were going to have access to Field 3 on Thursdays to help host some of our girls playing, and then adult wouldn't use it. But really, there is no overlap. Adult plays typically Thursdays and Sundays. Those are days we do not play. Our league games are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, sometimes Thursday. Our tournaments are typically going to be Friday through Sunday, and we're done by the time adult softball starts on Sunday night. So in terms of concerns with youth and what have you, we want nothing to do on behalf of Boosters or softball with alcohol, like we had said when we met, and there really isn't a lot of overlap where both of us would be playing at the same time. We're typically gone by the time adult softball starts.
That, and then just working out of the products and things and the equipment, that's between the two parties?
Yeah, that would be between us and your staff, well, whether Derek or whomever, but just to figure out, do we pool resources, buy things together? How are we going to keep inventory, keeping track of cash and turning things over? And we're open to whatever, obviously, you think is best. If, we have access to a cooler, whether we need to keep our things separate, however you think it should be run, we're open to that.
Well, most of the coolers are our softballs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's
Right.
gonna be mostly between you guys. as
Working
far as
through them and JJ,
Well, we've never really got too involved with the concession.
Now, everything that'll be stated in the concessions agreement, we don't have it just because she's had some other issues
Okay.
come up. That would be forwarded to the council so we can speed it up, hopefully by the 23rd. It's all jointly, and it'll specifically say in there how, you work together,
Right.
and then there's going to be the sales of alcohol as it always has stated in there.
Right.
So, I mean, it's kind of, she's going to change obviously some things, but hopefully you'll have an opportunity to look at it before.
yeah, and I think the working agreement, I think we have enough trust in each other. Certainly, I would be we'd have minimal access to concessions, whether it's just me or one other designee, and that would be it. We're not going to open it up to any folks there, so there would certainly be plenty of supervision to whatever level the city deemed necessary. But we'd be kind of running off of your channels and how you think it's best handled. That's what we're going to do. Frankly. And again, it's a win-win for everybody. If we can, it speeds up our process. It makes, we've had some problems in the past couple of years with tournaments where we frankly run out of things. And if we're able to stock it and not have to do back and forth, we're making more money, we're running more efficiently, and the net profits are going to be a lot better. And especially this year with some big ticket tournaments coming into play, we want to make sure we're running efficiently so we're in the running for those in the coming years as well. The Nationals is the Mall of America has thrown its weight and money, frankly, behind some of the Nationals. ASA and NAFTA were in the past, and there's been some infighting there, but they are now the chief sponsor of this new Nationals that are coming here. So it's a good opportunity for us to really promote Hudson. Our concessions committee at Boosters has been game planning for how to market this to local businesses, not doing the role of the chamber, but really trying to promote Hudson, getting coupons, getting local businesses here, and then putting shout outs to teams that have to sign up months in advance for this so they know where to go, what to do. We're going to put some feelers out on our own to local hotels as well, and really try to make this a good promotional event, not just for Boosters and softball, but for Hudson as a whole. And we think this will make our job a lot easier and frankly require me to be at Grandview a lot less, which is always a concern, at least of me.
Okay. So will somebody want to make the motion then that we have the city attorney draft the agreement?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Okay, so we'll have the city attorney draft the agreement and work it out between the parties.
Yeah, and I'll be the point person for Boosters. Dave O'Brien has been helping. He's going back to the Middle East, been activated by duty. I think he'll be around to help us this summer, and he's been a big boon to scheduling, so he and I will coordinate that, and we'll figure out best practices with your guidance and direction. But, yeah, I'll be the main point person, I think, besides Dave. So.
Any further questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So the 6% of the proceeds go to, or maybe talk about what's in this agreement. 6% of the monthly financials come back to the city. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And it indicates that that goes to improvements at Grandview Park related to field use.
Yep.
So those are earmarked for field use specifically.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're hoping with the combination now that because of the decline that we've received in financials over the last, 8 years, I guess, that it's really declined, that the boosters will pick up all the slack because it'll be open 5 days a week versus 2. So, and it'll help with our improvements out there, so to fund them.
Any other questions? If not, Chair will call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thanks for your
Thank
time,
you, Tim.
everybody. I appreciate it. Thanks for bumping me up a little bit.
Okay, thanks for the,
You said
all that
that's-
the
you said
boosters do.
that's
So what do you,
Next.
what one you want me to do next, Derek? Okay, yeah, sure, Derek. We'll do number 8. Okay, project updates. Tom?
I met with the sailing school this morning, Mike Johnson and myself, and I don't know if you'd like to come up and speak on this. They just sent over a proposal. It's a little different than
I only made a couple cut. I don't know who's got them.
Did you get?
Yeah, you know what, I think I only had 3.
Oh, do you want, think I have?
I kind of
Here.
came at the last
Yeah,
second.
you and I
so-
can look at it.
Okay,
Here you go.
thank you.
Oh, he's got more too.
I'll take it. Okay, thanks.
So I guess if you just want to go over the, your new proposal and, like it says, on the top of the proposal here, the St. Croix Sailing School presented some ideas for relocation to the south end of the park. In February, the Common Council was instructed the city attorney to draft a sailing school lease agreement for the south end of the park, and that I was supposed to work with this group on how to best utilize the space. So we have met, and there was some, after we looked, the group had met with the marina, and there was some talk about getting their larger shed or office area, 6 foot on the marina property. So that was one option we looked at this morning. And then they also requested that their what do you call that little lean-to? Is it a
Our Opti storage rack. It's
Opti
a-
storage?
The boat is
I think
called an
that's on
Optimist.
page 2. That
You can see it at the bottom of page 1, I think, in the handout that I gave you, just a picture of what that rack looks like. And
Yeah,
and,
okay, it's all on. So they also asked or requested that that be located on the east side of the Buckeye Garage, which I guess at this point, I don't see any conflict or anything, but we, at one of their proposal, they had some of their buildings and things on the south side of the Buckeye Garage, and it would have made it difficult to get in between the garage and the play equipment. But I don't see any issue with this, so that would be a park board decision if they would like to allow it. It is different from what the city council approved. Everything was supposed to be on the south end, so we would have to have a proposal, or at least
well, I think we brought a couple of proposals to the city council.
yeah. So
Basically
Lisa,
locating
recommend-
in the south end of the park, various uses of the back part of that Buckeye Garage and so forth. And I think I took that as basically, they said, work with Tom, see what you guys can come up with, what's acceptable to the city, and that would be beneficial for us. And so I guess that's what we're sort of worked out this morning.
So then, also, they are requesting just west of this area where the sheds are located and the fence would be, is another small area for 5 or 6 boats down, I guess 6 boats down in a little area, and then there would be a fence around that.
Yeah, you can see that in the depicted in the green.
lines,
Basically, we're trying to find space to put the equipment that we have, which are these 12 boats that we use on a regular basis for school activities, for the courses that we run, as well as this little picture of Optimist boats, the small boats that we have that fit in a rack. So we're looking at the space. That corner is, it's a bit tight to fit in there, and so we're looking for ways to make that feasible. In this first layout, you see, I actually put two
Okay, I see that now.
options in
So
here.
this is, the first page is proposal A.
Yeah, what we talked about this morning and how we could potentially fit in there, and maybe some of the things we would need to do to try and fit in that space. I put in some pictures in the back. You can see the actual site there. There's a bunch of buckthorn that should be removed from the fence. There's a few trees that we talked about that were dead or dying that if we took those out would maybe afford us a bit more space. And we could try and squeeze our stuff in there. It's going to be a little bit tight. And then we also talked about the potential of bringing up to the DNR if it would be possible to extend. I'm looking at page 3 at the actual photo of the site in the blue circle there. Along the marina side, there's a bunch of riprap there that could sort of make it more usable. Gives us a few more feet of space. So we thought we could look into that.
Why would we have a problem with the DNR on that?
It's just
We don't
a
know.
process for riprap.
I think you'd have to have a permitting,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
a
no.
riprap permit.
If you, to do new riprap, yes, we would.
Right.
Yeah.
And that is a process, so I don't think that would be something to do this spring. I mean, it's gonna,
No,
by the time you get
right, right, right.
approvals and.
Shouldn't be a problem, though, to get approval for.
It shouldn't be
Should
that.
be.
Shouldn't be, but
Yeah, it
they're-
should be relatively.
Shouldn't be,
easy.
but we never know.
Yeah,
I
that's
guess
true.
the basic layout that you see on page 1, we feel without, we'd probably have to take out a couple of trees to get fit in there and rework the fence, as we have said there. But that would be like something we feel like we could do in the next 6 weeks. We're sort of shooting for a deadline of June 1st. And we started our high school sailing program, believe it or not, the last Tuesday in the snow. We've got kids working in classrooms and have rigged up some boats. I think they're actually on the water tonight
They're tonight. There's
for our
somebody
high
just
school
said they're
program.
out
And that's going to be over at end of May. And then in June, we start up our summer program. And so we're looking at that end of May, first part of June, to have the relocation done if we can accomplish it by then, and hopefully get set up for our summer program. I would say on the second page, Mike did bring up an idea, maybe to avoid doing riprap and taking down trees and things like that, to give some more space that might be overall less expensive and easier. He brought up the idea of maybe relocating the pathway there, and putting in a temporary path that we could, just sort of cut the corner a little bit sharper and take a little bit more space of the corner, and then fence that whole area off, and then have a little bit more freedom where we can locate stuff inside that might be quicker, easier, and cheaper for everybody
And then would you
involved.
still have the storage at the,
Yeah, I didn't put all the buildings in there, but they would be similar, but, slightly rearranged, I would say. I don't know how exactly that would work, but we could, we'd have more freedom to fit the same stuff in that space.
So you think that with proposal B, that the Opti rack could be down in that area? then?
Probably we could put it in there as well, yeah.
Then everything, would be, in one area?
In one space, yes,
So I think
that's
that's
true. So we could cross that off the second page. That's maybe
Okay.
an oversight.
And under B as well, you would still want to riprap your
No,
shoreline? and
I think we
then
could
put that
avoid-
behind there?
We could avoid that then, removing too many trees or adding the riprap. The idea about adding the riprap is because we could get a few more extra feet of space to put boats and things there. If we
I don't know this.
if we cut the corner, as it shows there, or something like that, I think we'd have enough space that's already there without making too many material changes.
and then otherwise, I mean, in the process of not getting the riprap permit, then you just go down the trail? Then you would just take the boats down
I would
the
suggest
trail?
that in long-term planning, that we look at, it'd be nice to make that shoreline there as adaptable and safe for you guys to go in and out there and not have to schlep everything down to the point.
Yeah, long term, I think we'd like to do that.
Yeah.
But,
I think that is included in the waterfront vision
yeah, I
plan.
think it's
Yeah.
part of the
Just so that it-
development plan.
That it is, that we run into.
We'd certainly be happy for that. I mean, we looked at it this morning, Tom. It looks a bit like a used cement dump down there. There's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff along the shoreline. It's not very, visually nice to look at, but any improvements could be good. But, so I guess we're open to, we just wanted to bring up these possibilities that we talked about, see what your thoughts are on this. I know you're not in a position to make any decisions today. We didn't expect that, but,
So in proposal B, I do like the idea that everything is in one area. Seems like it makes sense. It's an area that's not really utilized a lot. And like I said, it's in a little bit of disarray. Maybe with their help, if they, we do some cleanup and things like that, actually it might enhance the area a little bit. The cost of the path, the relocation of the path, right now we wouldn't have any money budgeted for that.
no, I think we would plan to, try and do that under the sailing school budget if we could get the proposal. I don't have any idea what that kind of money we're talking about there, but
I
don't
would have
expect it.
to, I can measure it lay it out, measure it, meet with somebody, a contractor or something, get back to you in a few days. If this is your,
I think that would
Your
be
preferred-
plenty acceptable to us, yeah.
okay.
And I think you're hearing kind of from us, I don't mean to speak
You like
for
that
everyone,
better?
but I
And
think
then-
Plan B is the one that I'd say, and that we move the pathway the right amount so that it fits long-term with how the space is going to be best utilized. I'm making a big assumption here that you're going to be there for quite some time.
It could be. I mean,
Yeah,
we've discussed
so-
a lot of things with the city, and this was a so-called temporary plan, but, that could last for who knows what. I mean, that's depending on how the whole waterfront development plan goes. So, our expectation is it could turn out to be longer than shorter. But So we might as well make it a comfortable place if we can do that.
I think it needs to be comfortable, safe, good-looking, and
Absolutely, and we're
all those things.
plenty willing to help out and do that and put some effort into improving the shoreline, whatever we can get away with. I think it would be great. One concern is about our June 1st deadline. What could we do? Maybe we can't get the path relocated before June 1st, but would we be able to do something to get in there and get set up by June 1st? Is a concern.
I think you're hearing from, we can't take any formal action because it wasn't on the agenda. So I think you're hearing from us a sense of support for what you'd like to do.
I think the city attorney just would need to include this in the agreement, and get the language and
Right.
work it from there.
Okay.
That's kind of what we're waiting for, and then that would go to the city council.
All right. Well,
It's
we
my
can certainly
understanding. It doesn't have to go back to anywhere else.
Try and push things ahead with the city attorney and get it on the agenda for the next park board meeting for a motion.
Yeah.
Does it have to come back here?
I was going to say, yeah, it doesn't have to.
I mean,
No, it wouldn't have to come back
I
here.
don't think it's
Or do we
okay.
need
No,
to go to-
you already know our feelings and how we feel about it, and
It could go right to council.
yeah, you could go right to council with it.
So if she can prepare it, it would be at the 23rd council meeting, otherwise it'd be whatever the May meeting, 7th. 23rd or the 7th, looks like.
23rd of April would be the next meeting.
I mean, she's already kind of started working on it, so I don't know where
All right.
she's at.
Yeah, okay. Then I'll follow up with the city attorney and see if we can get on the agenda for the 23rd.
Okay.
As much time as we can muster, the better.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
so Deb, we'll get a hold of you, right?
Do we not
Yeah, we'll just let
contact
you
the
know.
city attorney
No,
directly? or-
no, we'll.
You'll take care of that?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And
And then you can call
get us
me or
on the
email
agenda
me. Maybe we can lay out that path someday if you're around, and just give me a call. And I'll get maybe once it's laid out, then I can get a lineal foot, or, we can get a square footage, and we can get a rough cost for that.
excellent. I'll probably have Colin contact you because I'm out of town on a business trip for the next 2 weeks, so
Okay.
starting Sunday, but
I can lay it out, or unless we go down there tomorrow, or,
that's fine too. I'm free, flexible the rest of the week, but out of town for 2 weeks.
okay.
All right.
Do I have your cell phone?
I'll shoot you an
Before you
email.
go, you could
Yeah,
write
it's
it.
on my email.
Okay.
On the bottom of the email that I sent you earlier, so I can be available tomorrow. That'd be great.
Okay.
If we could get on the council for the 23rd.
I got a bunch of meetings, but-
I might not be here, or I guess I won't
Okay.
be here, but my
Yeah, we'll try.
colleague
Get it on
Justin
there.
and Colin will be here. All right,
All right, thank you.
good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, where you want to go next?
Back up to 3, let's just go.
Okay, we'll go back up to number 3 then.
Yeah.
Discussion and possible action on the 2018 concessions agreement for Lakefront Park.
Nobody's here for it, but the request is in here from the Norville for the Bagel Factory.
Did you have anything that,
No, but it's all good. No, we're all good.
okay, is anyone choose to make the motion on the agreement?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Now it'll get on.
Did you have anything, Tom, that you wanted to? to bring
Well, I
up
think
then?
they're,
If not, all those in favor say aye.
I,
Motion carried.
Okay, there you go.
So now we can go to item number 7, the discussion and possible action on the park 5-year capital improvement plan.
Yep, so,
It was all in the packet. Deb has them laid out very nicely with the
the
maps
park has a worksheet.
for the parks.
Are you here for something?
Yeah, I was here for the bench proposal.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. So he is here. He's here for the,
oh gosh.
I'm
are
sorry?
you Jared? Yeah. Jared. Jared's here. Number 2.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I thought you were with those guys.
Jared Hansen, I'm here with Hard Dance Minnesota, and I've been talking to Deb about possibly doing an event on July 7th at the band shell with some dance music and stuff for like a day event for people to come to and have a good day at the park.
So I apologize, I didn't include any of our discussion or anything, so if you just kind of want to tell them a little bit about it.
Sure.
What you're thinking, just because it's a new event, it's a new...
Right. The timetable, I guess we were discussing would probably from like noon until the park closes at 10 o'clock, I believe is what she said. We'd possibly have 2 stages, one at the band shell, and we'd bring a tent to put another little setup in there. And we'd have a pig roast for people to have food, and we'd bring all the refreshments and stuff like that. We wouldn't be selling any alcohol or anything like that. It'd be family friendly.
Selling the pig sandwiches?
Nope,
or
it'd all
they're
be free.
Okay.
The whole event would be free. There's no ticket sales or anything like that. It would
Okay.
just be music in the park, and then
Types of music.
free food. It's dance music, electronic
Okay.
dance music. We'd be bringing our own sound. What else here? There'd be various different styles of the dance music: house, techno, drum and bass, hardstyle, hardcore, stuff like that. So.
Okay.
I think that was probably one of our concerns that we talked about, was just the decibels and just
Right.
the amount of time, that you'd be playing that for, and then the number of people. We don't really know how many people would come, but
Right. It's kind of hard to put a finger on how many people would be interested in coming to that, but since it would be a free event and the style of music is fairly popular nowadays, we'd estimate somewhere between 150 200 people, I'd guess.
Okay. Tom, any issue with the grounds having just gone through the 4th of July celebration down in the band shell area is...
Takes a beating, but usually comes back, that's for sure, so.
So there's no concerns that... Pam?
Oh, not really. I don't think so.
And I'm sorry, who's presenting the event, or
Hard
who's-
Dance Minnesota is the name of my company that I run.
and so are you promoting something, or you're just,
No, this is basically just like a thank you to the fans and stuff like that who come to our shows and stuff like that, and just like appreciation for everyone, and just to get out and have a good time.
so where do you have shows that, where you're saying appreciation? for-
Typically, we do shows, and we've worked with Skyway Theater, First Avenue in
Okay.
Minneapolis, Poorhouse, and Ground Zero.
Okay, and so you want to bring them to Hudson, or invite people to Hudson,
Correct. Yeah. Well, yeah. We'd be putting on the event, and we'd invite basically our patrons to come in and come here and check out the music for the day.
okay.
so, and then the public would be able to just come.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
know, so
Open to the
that's
public.
where I guess-
Everyone can come.
Had you requested to use any of the parks in the Twin Cities? Or
No, there's really no parks to use within Minneapolis. I actually did go down that route. But we have done shows like this, or events like this before, at a place called Lake George in Minnesota. So,
Okay.
So I guess from a parking perspective, would there be, is there parking to accommodate an event like the, and I guess I'm just thinking about all the aspects of an event.
Oh, we have much larger events than this one.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's going to go to Public Works.
And, in the same, we
public
talked
safety.
a little bit about restrooms, facilities, if we
Okay.
need any extra, but normally we've never really needed extra restrooms for 150 people. So, because we have public restrooms.
Would that be something we should consider, though? If it got to be more than that, that would be a requirement?
That's definitely something we can track. We'd make an event page, and we can track the numbers through that to see how many people are actually interested in coming out. And if it does get to a number where we're concerned about, restrooms and stuff like that, we would definitely be open to getting extra
Porta potties?
porta potties. Yeah.
And then there's garbage, and there's, extra garbage, porta potties, and then it's just the length of time. We kind of talked, Tom and I had talked about maybe only, because it's a first-year event, you could check out a half-day event versus a full-day event.
Would that be
Something-
you'd consider 4 hours and 8 instead of 8, or 10? Actually, you're thinking of 10 hours.
Yeah. I could cut it maybe like to 8 hours instead, or if that's something that would.
Something we have to consider is, there's people that go to the park just for quiet. This is a totally different. This is music that's usually loud, very loud.
And you've got the restaurants.
There's a lot of restaurants downtown that have patio and seating in the summertime, and
Because the music's projecting more of this way.
so for that length of time, we might get some feedback, or if it was super loud and if it was for a super long time.
Okay.
I'm just saying that there's one particular restaurant that is like right across the street. Of course, the other one,
Well, they all have outside seating.
Smiley Moose, Pier 500, and Mallory's. Lolo's probably could, hear it also. And I think Dick's or not Dick's, but Barker's actually has a porch in back too. So,
But if you notice, it isn't very good sound. I mean, I've been at Pier, even on the patio, and you really can't hear very well if there's something going on
Yeah,
at the
it
band
is
show.
kind of different at that particular location. I don't know about the others, but.
Yeah. I don't know why that is, but it's.
so generally, the bands that have been down there are from, we have bands every Tuesday night and Thursday night and some Tuesdays. Those usually go for 2 hours from 7 to 9, right? 10 hours is a lot. This is a whole new ballgame for us. 10 hours of some pretty hard music.
We kind of do these, like, we call them dance marathons. So we kind of do it like that, and we kind of promote it as that as well, because people are dancing the whole time out, and
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that the food and beverages are free, or
All of it. Yep.
Okay.
You're
Again,
you advertise free food?
Yep, we'll advertise free food. So, that's something else we'll keep an eye on too. Is like the number of people that we expect. We'll plan accordingly with the food and beverages. So.
And what were the proposed hours for music? From what?
From noon to 10 was the proposed hours.
And if we were to do an 8-hour, would you do noon to 8? Or?
Yeah, that's fine. Or 2 to 10, which one you want, or however you want to work it.
Or noon to
2 to 8.
6, maybe, to get a feel for what the response is, if there's.
Or
if
2 to
there's-
8?
Or 2 to 8, but I guess I'm kind of thinking about,
Well, I think they have, they have a lot of setup, I suppose, too, especially if you're thinking you're going to have 2 tents, or you had said you're going to have 2 stages.
Good, yeah.
So where were you thinking the other stage was going to be, I guess?
I'd have to look at the property too, I guess. I've only just seen the pictures online, but.
Okay.
so when would a decision need to be made? Could we do some additional checking and maybe revisit this at the May meeting?
This is July 7th, you have May and June.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think you've got
But I know he wants to get it out there, so he wants to get it on his event page,
Yeah.
so.
What do you guys think? I think there's too many questions on the part of the city's part yet before we could say yes or no.
Okay.
I really do. I'm not I sit here like I'm a codger, old geezer on the music. You know, it doesn't concern me. You know, music is music, and it's more how long, how invasive, if you will, to the day that everyone else is having in the park. And, you know, what's the right time to start and what's the right time to pull the plug and say it's got to be cut off. Public safety is going to have questions on things as well.
Well, he could, you know, being that you had an event at Lake George, I mean, I suppose we could get something from them.
You have a contact for that?
You know,
Oh, it was many years ago. I didn't have to sit down with the city before with them, so
Oh, okay.
I didn't. It was just I rented the park pavilion for the day, and then we went all day long. So
oh, I see. Okay, so
Yeah.
you just rented a pavilion.
right.
Could you send us a copy of some of the music or names or
I can give you this as kind of
you have some?
the rundown of it and some of the genres of music on there, so you can look at that if you'd like.
Yep.
I think you could have everything worked out with the
Okay.
city questions so that by the May meeting, you know, before then, you're going to have a good idea from the city staff and everything else whether it's going to be doable. But that at the May meeting, then we could give you the official blessing
Okay.
to do it.
So,
But I think there's still a lot of
when's the
questions.
meeting?
That meeting would be May, let's see, it's supposed to be May 1st.
May 1st.
Yeah.
And then is it the same time?
Yeah, they'll start here, and then if they're traveling out there, yeah, it's
Yeah,
5:30.
so we could
5:30.
cover that
Probably
first.
try to
and-
get you first on there, if that's
Yeah.
helpful, or last, I guess.
The only thing is I work second shift, so I work from 5 p.m. till 5 a.m.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Is there someone else that could
represent.
If you, because you should
Yeah.
probably pretty much know what the decision is, really, right? Before,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they'll have a.
I could look into have my co-owner to come here and.
I mean, the other thing you could do, I mean, you could try to, well, I guess it's not going to matter. You could do June, May or June.
You know, you're going to want it in May in order to,
I want it as soon as possible. That
Yeah.
way I can book.
Right,
I can
exactly.
book my talent far enough in advance so they can get on the calendar and everything. So.
So, oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
One time I thought there was some live music down at the park where it was actually fenced off. I think a couple times I've seen it, you know, for an event where it's.
That's
music
if there's
on.
alcohol served.
Okay.
That's if they're serving alcohol, they have to have it fenced off. So
Yeah, they've done music down there for longer periods, haven't they? Or
we've done lots of music. We've done lots.
Yeah,
of
well, the
things.
boosters, you know, they have their concert, you know, but that's not all day.
yeah,
Well, yeah.
that's what I was.
Is it pretty much from noon till?
No, it's all day and night.
So they have.
city
Yeah.
celebration for the benefit of the city.
Right, right.
No offense,
Yeah,
you know,
it's a community event.
community
It's a
event.
community event, so. if
And we
this-
don't, on our music in the park, doesn't go that late.
No, it's only a couple hours.
None of the other concerts do. So I think between now and the May meeting, you'll have everybody will have a pretty clear idea, staff-wise and you, as to what they think is going to fly and what isn't.
Okay.
And then something formal could come to the park board at that time for us to give our blessing to it.
Okay.
But I think there's too many questions right now that we couldn't, in all honesty, give you a fair reading as to.
Okay.
Yes, well, I'll scan this information, I'll send it out to the board, and then they can have the ability to check, you know, the lengths and look into it, and then add it to the next agenda.
Is there another park that could be, I mean, you know, and with still the questions that we've got about the length of time and you know, how any neighboring areas are affected, or if there is any effect on, you know, with either traffic or no, you know, some of the questions that we ask about other events that are being asked to like take a look at. But would this event work at another park other than?
We could put it out by Mike's place out at that park. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I actually, I can.
Prospect it wouldn't
yeah.
work because you've got the neighborhoods and,
Sure.
you know, and all of that.
For
Williams,
Prospect,
no.
we'd only use.
It was just a
it's
thought, you know,
really-
if there's another park that maybe could be considered for this event.
Yeah, I don't know. But that's what you'll get worked out.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Sorry to make you wait.
Yeah.
And the gentleman who just came in, are you
These
here?
are for the next meeting.
They're there for the next meeting, and
I
we've
think.
got to
Oh, boy.
get done, so. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anderson Park is the first in our listing. Tom, you want to lead us through what you want?
Oh, no, we can certainly, this up for discussion is, what are the things that, you
This,
know,
the 7,000 that we have planned for resurfacing and,
Well, those, actually, I'm sorry, the ones in green are already done.
yep.
Right.
So,
When do we need to be doing it and looking at doing things again? What do we want to be doing out there beyond what we've,
I'd say we should probably put it out into 2022, 23 to get it resurfaced again. Otherwise, it's just not going to last. Because
okay.
I think the
so
last time
pickleball
we
court could be out to, I think they talk about 6 years or so, 5 to 6 years. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I guess we can put a number on that, you know, if you,
Well, obviously more than,
it's going to be more than $7,000, so.
To put 10,000 out there?
That'd be reasonable.
And are you doing 2021 or?
I think, you know, if we can just kind of get, instead of getting so worked up into the cost, financial stuff,
Yeah,
I mean,
but just-
we can do that later once we get
Okay.
the lists really
Was
good. I
it-
mean, we can
Yeah.
put something in there, I have no, but I mean, instead of getting all wrapped up
Yeah.
into numbers. because-
What else do we want to add to, have we talked about adding to that park? That, you know, we've wanted a shade structure out there and to be bigger than what we've had.
Well, they built the shade structure onto the end of the restroom.
There's a
facility,
couple
so
picnic
there's-
tables underneath there, so I mean, it's
So-
something.
So
Yeah.
maybe that'd be something.
It's not that big a park.
I don't know that there's anything else that we really want to or need to add to it.
I don't think so either. I guess, so, to me, what's on the list looks great. And then maybe, obviously, it's going to be really important, do you want to keep the resurfacing of the basketball courts in 18 or 19, or do you want to push it out? Because, you know, those are the, 19, 20. Because we don't have money in the 18 budget, you know, it's just sitting there right now, so that's technically not even going to happen this year.
So we definitely have to slide that over to
Slide it
at
over
least
to the next 5
2019.
years into
Okay.
somewhere. So is it that important to put it in 1920, or do you want to go out further?
I have no idea on how to answer that, depending on the
Condition of it.
condition of the court. I don't remember it well enough when we were just
It's in
out there.
bad shape.
We were looking at the tennis court and everything with
Because,
it.
well, it was more like the basketball court
Yeah.
and basketball hoops. We talked, actually, I was going to add basketball hoops on. Those hoops are in really, really bad shape. I mean, so I think, I think basketball hoops and resurfacing the court should all be one thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so since we haven't got the money to do it in 18, let's put it into 19.
And I think we got a cost estimate of something like 6,000 for the hoops, because they are, but we can get
And
a
this is
number.
in
Yeah,
Anderson?
put in whatever
Okay.
you've got as a number, and
Okay,
then,
so you want to put it in 19?
well, we don't have the money to do it in 18.
Nope. Okay. So I'll just put a little X in there, and then, like I said, we'll talk about money later.
Okay.
The playground updates is now in 19 and 20. To me, I think it looks pretty fine. We could probably put that out into the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
23? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is that it?
Yep.
That's it for Anderson. I think
Okay.
unless there's something else somebody else wants.
Berkmos.
I think it's a shame there's nothing in Berkmos, but
I think, yeah, there's nothing. But I think we could leave the trail improvements and wildflower plantings. Maybe you could do some benches or something up there. But we have a lot of benches up there too.
yeah, no, I don't think we need, but I'm just saying there's, there's nothing really up there. But
There isn't.
That's why this should be pretty easy.
But what, I mean,
what could
you
be up
live,
there
I
that-
mean, you
I
have,
don't
what,
live there
how do you
anymore.
visualize it? I mean, it's kind of a,
Yeah,
Picnicking,
no, it's
right?
just a nice, what?
Picnics? Do you think picnics?
Yeah, it would be maybe nice if it were more of, I don't think people really know what's up there. I mean, it's a great visual park, I mean, obviously just to park up there and look and have lunch on a bench, but,
Maybe a telescope.
but, if there was ever something up there, but you're right, and there's not a lot of space up there either.
one thing I always, often wondered, late summer, late August, so Indian Mounds in that area of what, where you have the vistas, sometimes it gets so dry.
Yeah,
And, a few years ago, they actually brought a new water services, up to Berkmos Drive,
Oh, yeah,
your
yeah.
house. I just wondered, at one time, there was a drinking fountain up there, and I think the water line came up from Cooley Road closer to Casanova's. Came up through the woods, and then there was a drinking fountain.
Yeah.
yeah.
There's a little pond there.
So, I don't know, someday, I mean, is that way off? To
Yeah.
say that maybe get an irrigation system up there where we could keep it looking nice?
Yeah.
We have, I mean, that's basically the prime area is the Indian Mounds and the lookout. And, to improve that might be very helpful. I just me.
Should we put irrigation in for 19?
No.
Sometime, I don't even know how much it would be to get the
There's a
water.
well. Remember there's that little well that used to be filled with water, right? Right.
Yeah, that's the water line that came up
Yeah,
the
to
hill
the
and it
top,
got
yeah.
broke a few, I mean, I remember the water department fixing it right off of Cooley Road, just, east of Casanova's there. And since then, we haven't had any water, but maybe there's a way to utilize the new line and get water over there someday.
But yeah, I don't think we need to budget
I
it.
can add irrigation system and water fountains on, and we can just list it, and then when we get to the,
And then you can move it.
then you can decide what year you'd like it in.
Okay.
So you're gonna add irrigation and maybe a drinking fountain?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know if it's worth us, talking about a shade structure, I mean, in that little loop or down in, or people like to go and just sit in amongst the trees, actually.
Yeah, a lot of people do, there's mocking, they do this mocking.
Yeah.
A lot of people run up there and, run up to the hill, believe it or not. So maybe a water fountain would be good someday.
Especially if we can come in off the other.
Especially, well, if you improve the trails.
Yeah.
there.
So pick what year you want to
Yep.
go
The
for,
other-
19 or 20.
The other thing is just,
I wouldn't load up on 1920 because obviously
Funding.
all the 1920 requests are already.
in that
for parks are
pickleball,
like-
that some of that's gonna be in there.
Maybe,
Um,
and everything else. It's-
And I know,
You can load it up if you want, but.
No.
just-
I would
Maybe-
figure it out.
down in the future, but something we have to do though in that park though is, keep maintenance, and this isn't a capital deal, it's just maintenance, that hillside. The trees keep getting bigger and it does cut the view off, and I know we have to be careful with, the scenic riverways and things like that, but basically cut down some of the, the buckthorn and things like that, the invasives, so you can have your views. And Stu always did that area really good around your house, and so that's something maintenance-wise we have to keep on track. I had some complaints in that last little turnaround, as the trees grow up, we lost the view for a few years.
Yeah, and
So we
it
have
is,
to
it's at
con-
Buckthorn, yeah.
Yeah.
So is that a,
That's just a maintenance deal that we have to keep working on. That was just,
That's operating expenses.
that's operating.
so could goats be
So
used
to
in
get-
that area to help manage the buckthorn? Or,
Maybe.
we talked about
Possibly,
goats
yeah.
and
Yeah.
so would that maybe be an
I don't know
opportunity?
the answer to that because there's so
It's
much
not a
sumac
capital.
on that hillside too,
Oh,
if they get after that.
I think, after we get a flavor of how they do up here, and certainly, I know they're gonna be out on Earth Day out at the Y Camp and for a demo too, and
To
that's
get-
something we can visit with them about.
To get through the rest of our items
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
before we gotta be done.
Yep, sorry.
Let's move on to Burton. It'd be nice to get that regraded so we could get our ice rinks moved.
I think you should throw that in there just to get it regraded and move just have, the concept.
I know we're loading stuff up, but I'd really like to see that if we could do it in,
Well, we had the grading on here, so, for 17, which you never got. So
Yeah.
we move that to
move to 19.
19, and then get a better cost on it.
So, is it the committee's recommendation to consider, taking two fields and making one good one out of this and with the grading process and then having the hockey rink over by Oak Street, maybe considering those diagonal parking off of 10th Street and have the open rink out off of 10th Street? Keep the restroom where it's at. We invested the money there for that one. But instead of moving it by the playground, but taking both fields, and putting into one regulation field for, and it's not going to be a high school field, it'll always be a youth field.
Yeah.
sure. What about the lighting upgrade that's on here? Could that get bumped out so some of those other items could get moved into 2000?
Do we have the money for the? No.
No,
How far do you want to move that out?
well.
I would say don't do the lighting until we get all the other work done, because
Yeah.
then we know what
Right.
we're illuminating.
Right.
So I'd put the lighting in the same year as the,
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't
Redo.
didn't do this one right now that I'm looking at it. So we need 21, 22, 23 on there, sorry.
but they're worth keeping.
So LED lighting's gonna go out into 21?
Probably.
Yeah.
After the park is
grading.
redone, then you know what you have to light.
But that is the biggest complaint we get every year is that the rinks aren't open fast enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the people realize that the slope of the Burton Field is like such, we have to get nearly 2 feet of water, ice built up before it starts leveling off. And that was the whole, idea of moving, getting that field graded and then moving that hockey rink over to Oak Street and
Yeah.
on this plan.
Yeah, I know, that,
And,
I remember that.
I think by rights, if we, got the, those plastic or fiberglass boards, you could leave them up all year round and have a concrete pad or asphalt pad painted white that's actually level. You only need this much water. We could have, skating in 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we had the right conditions, so.
So maybe move that landscaping green space also and just have the grading, the first thing that we do,
Well, that's fine.
or what?
But I think the school, wasn't it this, St. Pat's uses it all the time, and I know we've had issues with the fields use, lack, I think we kind of have to talk to the schools and the one that use it a lot, to let them, to inform them that that's what we're planning to do, so they can make plans.
Regraded? Oh, and
Yeah,
so-
well, because they usually use them from like springtime till school's out.
Yeah.
St. Pat's, and they use both fields. They usually have the girls on the
St.
south
Pat's
end.
up there, we have Trinity's up there, we've got the boosters up there, you know. I mean, it is getting back to where there is a lot of high use, and not saying we can't do that, but just, I think for their scheduling reasons, I just would recommend that.
Should give them a year's notice or, you know, something.
Yeah.
So maybe do it in 2020 instead of 19. So you'd have a year to inform them that they're planning to do something different.
Are they reserved when they're used? Okay.
So,
Yeah, that's your only,
I mean, that's
That's the biggest thing. I mean, the playground has been upgraded, the restrooms have been upgraded, the warming house is in good shape. I think we just, you know, have to make a commitment, say, okay, we're gonna regrade it and change the layout of the field so we can improve have one really good field and get the hockey and skating rink so we can get them up and running faster.
And when is the soonest we would have funding to make that happen?
we're hoping to put that into 20.
2020.
2020, Tom?
2020.
Yeah.
April 2020, May.
Well, you know, it'd be nice to maybe wait till the church league is done with, and or not the church league, but St. Pat's is done maybe the 1st of June, and then we got all summer to grade it, get the grass reestablished. Just a thought.
And following that thought, then, and doing it when?
I'm sorry.
Doing the grading this summer?
Doing it right after the
Yeah.
St. Pat's are done with their leagues, probably 1st of June, and we could have all the plans and specs done, and just say construction starts after that season.
In June of what? What year are you saying?
2020 maybe.
Yeah.
June of 2020?
Okay. But that can get worked out. We just know we want to move it out there. Moving on, so we can get it. Coons, was there anything anybody wanted to, saw us adding to Coons Hill? We've got the parking lot on top. The walking trail cuts through it.
I don't get a lot of requests from
No.
Queens Hill. It's just kind of a natural area. Parking lot seems like it's in fairly good condition. The sliding hill gets utilized in the wintertime, and people use the trail a lot. So
Yeah.
I think the trail itself
All the
is in
time.
good condition.
So I don't see anything we have to do or add to there. Corky's Pier.
I
We've
just
got
wanted
the
to make
fishing
sure.
dock on
yeah.
there.
That was a grant that,
Buck got us.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'd like to try for that again.
Anything we need to do with the boat launch?
We've always wanted to try to get some of those concrete pads, and
So
we
what?
haven't got those in,
Still
and the
needs to do
money,
that.
I think, before has kind of went by the wayside. To do it right is a little more money than we thought. Before we just used to lay them down there, but and try to move some gravel with the water. I think to do it right, you should actually put some pilings in, pump the water out, do the grading, and then put your concrete slabs down. So it's a little more than
Yeah.
our $6,000 that we had in there at one time.
Or to stage it with a drawdown.
If that was the
That would
case,
be-
that would be excellent time to do
I mean,
it.
that would be the thing to do, is
If we ever
We
could,
have one
we
in
declare we want to do it,
Could find out
and do
what
it.
the DNR has on schedule.
and then the Lake Malibu Association could, in working with that, the dock repairs of everybody around the entire lake, I think it could be coordinated to do it.
that's one, not to throw that, this is the only boat launch that is free. And, we do have a lot of requests about keeping that maintenance of the boat launch in good condition. And now we know that, it's gonna cost a little more money to put those concrete ramps in, a lot more money.
Can we get Dingle Johnson money for doing that? That's for fishing license, the tax that goes on sporting goods, fishing in particular, is the Dingle Johnson Fund that then is available to communities to come back and do projects like that. And the only reason I know that is that one of the times the DNR threw that out to use for making up for not being able to charge what we want on lakefront.
Sure.
They said they could use Dingle Johnson funds to improve that. Maybe we could get them to look at it for there.
So is that something we apply for? Do you know?
We'd have to find out. I don't,
I'm not sure either.
yeah, find out with the DNR.
Dingle.
Yeah, like dingleberries, but it's Dingle Johnson. Yep.
I'll see what I can find.
I'll tell you what, that fishing pier gets used a lot.
Yeah, it does.
So, you know, I think right now it's adequate, but we should just, you know.
I think we should increase it. Buck would like to.
And then we talked about putting actually fishing piers down by the little dam also.
That's where this
We
one is.
should,
That's where
at some future time, look at what we want to continue to do with the city property and parkland all the way past Little Dam out to Big Dam. Or do we end at Little Dam? Where's the city end? Little Dam?
Oh,
And
gosh,
it's North Hudson from the Little Dam? Because that's the old channel.
I believe so.
Yeah. The Willow Channel was the Little Dam, so we end, our property ends there.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay, have we got everything off your
Yeah, if he was just
reordered
gonna-
list?
gonna-
Oh,
Can I
the
just-
Arbor Day.
Before we get done, I'd just like to remind everybody that April 28th, 2018, from 10 to noon is Arbor Day celebration in Lakefront Park. We'd like everyone to stop down and plant a tree and have a nice ceremony with the Arbor Day celebration. Also, we have a third annual Tree of the Year. We have some trees that the city sells, and this year the Trees of the Year is a Japanese tree lilac and the St. Croix elm, which is actually propagated from a tree that's been from Afton, a huge elm tree over in Afton, and this is one of the first year or two that it's been out. So we're going to promote that. Also, and then the Hudson Rotary has another program for tree diversity planting program throughout the city, and they have a bunch of trees for sale through the Rotary Club. So we have a lot of opportunities for urban forestry. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Great. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and second, all those in favor?
Yes.
Passed.
Oh.
We're out of here. Here's
Thank you.
that to you.